How's it going, everybody? As I step into young adulthood and as I begin to enter new spaces both inside and outside of the church, I can often struggle with the sense of inadequacy, and I'll think to myself, well, what do I bring to the table? After all, I just graduated high school, so compared to someone who has their master's degree or compared to someone who has 30 plus years of work experience, what can I do that they can't? Throughout the book of 1 Timothy, the Apostle Paul encourages his young apprentice to lead with confidence, he guides him, and he actually shows him how much of an impact that he can have despite his age. We're going to work our way through the whole book, but today we're just going to kick things off with chapter 1. As Paul continues his second missionary journey through the city of Macedonia, he actually instructs Timothy to stay behind in the city of Ephesus. Reason being is that he can confront those who are spreading false doctrines or teaching what was opposite of what Jesus taught. Timothy isn't meant to condemn these individuals, but to help the church stay true to the scriptures out of a place of love, a pure heart, and a good conscience. Now, if Paul wanted to brag, he could have easily listed off all of his greatest accomplishments and feats to Timothy. However, instead of listing everything that he did right, he actually lays out all of his flaws. And I think that this is beautiful because of how raw and how honest he's willing to be about his past. Paul labels himself a persecutor, a violent man, and a blasphemer. In fact, in verse 15, he says that he is the worst of sinners. Yet in the very next verse, in verse 16, Paul writes that he was shown mercy and grace so that he can be an example of Christ's patience to others. Instead of glorifying himself, Paul writes everything that he's ever done wrong and points all of the glory back to Jesus. Now, this really stands out to me because it made me realize that nobody starts at the top. It's through hearing the hardships and the real struggles that our leaders face that we as the next generation get to be able to learn what to expect. I know for me personally, I'll look at pastors, worship bands, or evangelists on YouTube and think, man, I want to be like that. However, Paul reminds us that at the end of the day, we're all human, and that no amount of degrees or credentials will ever be able to replace God's grace. It's through that grace that we are molded and transformed more into the image of God, where we can let our light shine, giving glory to our Father in heaven, as Matthew 5:16 says. So if I could encourage you all with one thing today, it would be this. Never underestimate the impact that you can have, even if you're just starting out. Whether you're starting a college career, starting your actual career, or still trying to figure out your next step, every leader that you look up to started somewhere. They made mistakes, and they rely on the exact same grace that is available to both you and I today. You don't have to pretend to have everything together to offer something to the table. You just have to be faithful with where God has placed you. I pray that you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and as always, stay blessed, live pono, ahuyo.